So Donald Trump and his people are talking about being in Venezuela for years. I want to go over what's going on. And as I always tell you, follow the money. These are the headlines then. Trump says U.S. oversight of Venezuela could last for years. This is what they're talking about. It's from the New York Times. This is Wall Street Journal. Trump team works up sweeping plan to control Venezuelan oil for years to come. President believes the effort could lower oil prices to his target of $50 a barrel. And you have to put this together with other news because there's actually quite a lot going on today. They want to raise the military budget by 50%. 50% increase. Trump calls for record $1.5 trillion defense budget, a 50% jump. And as you know, in the USA, they always say, oh, well, there's not enough money for education. There's not enough money for healthcare. There's not enough money for basic services, right, for our people. We don't need to raise the minimum wage according to the Trump people, right? We don't need to pay people. But 50% jump in military, that's our priorities. And I just want to make it really clear, right? Follow the money. Trump then tweets out this crazy long thing that he's going to say, I guess according to him, we're getting ripped off, blame Joe Biden, blah, 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 you know, stuff that Trump talks about. And then he's talking about paying down the debt, which is kind of weird considering that he wants to raise the military budget. He's going to say we need a golden dome. That's for air defense. He wants his new Trump-class battleship. I know it sounds stupid to say Trump and class in the same sentence, but that's what he's calling the thing. He wants his golden fleet, calling this a dream military, etc., right? 50% increase, $500 billion increase. Yes, it's crazy. Yes, it's insane. This is what Trump's plan is, and I'm showing you guys. This is why people's lives are struggling on a day-to-day basis to put food on the table, to pay the cost of medical, right? Your energy prices are through the roof, etc. Because Trump's always looking after this kind of stuff, right? Defense stocks surge after Trump calls for $1.5 trillion military budget. So this would be Elon Musk is looking to get those defense contracts. Trump's kids are looking to get the defense contracts and others. 50% increase in military budget. That's absolutely crazy. And when you see what they're planning, you're like, okay, they really might be serious about this stuff. Trump's team races to come up with Greenland takeover plan. Here's what's at stake. It was reported just yesterday, we were just talking about it, that the military option is on the table. We're talking about a military increase in budget. It's crazy. And I know every day it's like, how many more crazy things can we talk about with the Trump people? And, you know, I know what's going on in Minnesota. I made several videos on that. There's all those things to talk about. Just right now, I want to talk with you about with the money. So I'm not ignoring Minnesota stuff. I've made several videos on this, but don't ignore the money stuff because this has direct ramifications on everything. Your daily life, international relations, the markets, the opportunities that you and your family will have. Because again, we're diverting all the money to Trump's, you know, however you want to call it, we'll call it mustache party dreams, right? Here's more. Trump announces U.S. will leave dozens of international organizations. And I guess, what does it say? 66 multilateral bodies, everything from climate to cotton. What are we doing now? There's different ways you can read this, okay? So first way you could read this is Trump knows his time is up. Midterms are coming. He's going to be a lame duck. Republicans are probably not going to go for a lot of these things because they're going to see the poll numbers, which I see them and you see them also. And I'll be frank with you guys. If you dislike Donald Trump, you are in the majority. It's a small MAGA base, and it's shrinking. And yes, they're still there. I want to acknowledge it. They're still there, but they're shrinking. They're not necessarily going to go for all of this stuff. These kind of things they won't understand. Donald Trump orders mass pull out of international organizations. They'll turn on their Fox News. Oh, yes, I hate the world. I just absolutely hate the world. Get out of the world. And I laugh because it's just so stupid. The way the Fox News people try to treat it is like, oh, you know, we don't need that UN or human rights groups or climate groups telling us what to do. Who cares about the climate? And I always, you know, because I know guys, because people always say, Chris, how do I talk to, you know, MAGA people around me? And you have to appeal them in just the most basic, simple terms to say, hey, do you like clean drinking water? Do you like clean air? And the average person should say yes, clean drinking water. I mean, let's be real, right? Show them a glass of dirty water, show them a glass of clean water. And I know you got to keep it as simple as you can, but this is the kind of crap that we're talking about that Trump just wants to pull out. And you know, you could argue that We want to pull out of any sort of international organization that wants to hold Trump accountable or Trump's orders accountable, these things. So that's what we're doing. As we want to control Venezuelan oil for years, we're pulling out international organizations. This is interesting too. Again, follow the money stuff, because you'll see that Trump's plans are getting pushback in various ways. So headline then, U.S. oil groups warn they will need guarantees to invest in Venezuela. So yeah, Trump's plans to control it for years, and now he's trying to get all these people to go along with his plan. That would be sending oil companies down there, et cetera, U.S. ones. But you're going to have to put boots in the ground, most likely the American military, or maybe they'll use private contractors for all we know. But I'm just saying, it's going to be boots on the ground to security. You got to protect the people down there. And so this is, again, you'll be diverting tax dollars and such to go pay for protection of the oil fields. And it's just going to be a whole mess. If you get stuck down there for years, as someone mentioned in the comments, and I think it's one of the best comments I've read this week, Venezuela will be like, imagine the mountains of Afghanistan plus the jungles of Vietnam, and you got Venezuela, and we're fighting literally over protecting oil fields. It won't end well. Let me read some of the description here. It says, U.S. oil companies want, quote, serious guarantees from Washington before they make splashy investments in Venezuela, as President Donald Trump urges them to back his bid to reshape energy markets. We'll see. And then I guess he was like meeting with them. American officials held crunch talks with top energy executives in Miami on Wednesday. And he might still be down in Mar-a-Lago. I'm not sure if he's back at the White House or not. I can't keep track of Trump's movements, but they're doing the meet him on this house in the golf course thing on Wednesday, right? Justice Trump made a raw power over global crude markets, seizing control of the Venezuelan oil sector. Well, all this is they definitely are. I got their ships down there, spending a bunch of money to do that. Trump has also summoned executives from the country's biggest energy groups to the White House on Friday, so they must be at the White House by now. And this is an interesting quote. Just listen to this. Quote, no one wants to go in there when a random effing tweet can change the entire foreign policy of the country. And that's coming from a private equity investor who specializes in energy. Like, this is someone in that sector. I'll read again. No one wants to go in there when a random effing tweet can change the entire foreign policy of the country. So how can you do business with Trump, essentially how I read that. And then you have this, and I just want to lay out the perils of how terrible of an idea is it to get into this thing. This is coming from the Financial Times today. The gangs, goons, and guerrillas running swaths of Venezuela. Basically, if you're going to try to go down there and get the oil, right? Trump wants to increase the military budget. You'll get stuck for years. And there's so many different groups there. They're armed, right? And I know sometimes they'll say, it'll be more than MAGA, because I address these things. They'll say, but Chris, I see on TV that everyone around the world is cheering, for what's going on in Venezuela. They're happy that Maduro's gone. And I'm not defending Maduro at all. I'm just telling you the reality of it. It is a dangerous situation to go down there when people got weapons, and there's going to be a group of people that it's an easy message for them to talk to that group of people. Hey, these Americans want to come and take your oil. Do you want them to take your Venezuelan oil, your country's oil, your home oil? And a bunch of people are like, no. And it's a pretty easy, point to sell. And then you're going to have groups be like, dang, what are these Americans doing? They just shot some of our people, and we're going to go shoot some of their people. And you get the point. I'm not saying rights or wrongs here. I'm saying this is a situation that is not going to end well. This is a map. It's actually really interesting. It says major cities with collectivo presence. So that's what you call these people, like a paramilitary kind of thing. Presence of organized crime and armed groups. So it's in various parts of the country. You got the taker terminals, and then where the refineries are. It is not going to be easy. Here's, I'll just read a little bit. It says, gun-toting paramilitaries terrifying civilians in the cities. Colombian guerrillas running drugs and gold along the borders. Military officers ruling their patches as personnel fiefdoms. Venezuela is one of the world's most murderous countries, is teeming with men with guns. The patchwork of criminal gangs, armed paramilitaries, and rogue soldiers pose a major threat to the President Donald Trump's desire to, quote, run the country, and to any U.S. companies looking to invest. And that's why even one of the oil persons like, how can we, invest in this thing when foreign policy can change on a, effing tweet? Here's more, and just listen to this stuff. Quote, all of the armed groups have the power to sabotage any type of transition just by the conditions of instability that they can create. This is coming from someone who specializes in, military analysts. I told you before, I have a professor who is a specialist in Latin America affairs, so knows about the stuff, and especially military stuff. So he was even saying that there's thousands of people down there that are armed, and there's just it's a complete disaster. And the other way my professor said also as well is like, just imagine like the George Bush and all his people say, oh yeah, we're going to go do, Iraq, and look how that turned out. Right. And you're looking at the Trump people who are even way worse than the George Bush people, which when we were, talking about this stuff, I see people in the comments like, thinking, I thought the George Bush, whole weapons of mass destruction debacle in Iraq, you guys know this stuff. You thought that would be the low point in U.S. history. And then comes Donald Trump. So this Venezuela thing, this is a nightmare. And I'm just laying it out for you, how ugly it can get. And then you have this, which is even more crazy. So Trump, right? Trump's Venezuela oil grab is pushing China refiners to Canada. Now, why am I mentioning this? Because just put this in context. Let's say Trump's like, okay, we're going to increase our military budget, defund education, defund healthcare, basically increase the wealth gap in USA. Then your only job options are arrest your neighbors, right? If you want to go do the ice goon stuff, or go work in the military and go protect the oil fields for rich people and Elon Musk and such like that. Then other countries are going to like, you know what? I'm just going to like not do business with the USA. They're just devolving to unfriendly business partner, unstable business partner. Right? You just can't do it anymore. And so then you get this stuff where the way I read this is like, well, China and Canada are going to be friends because why not? And I think people were saying that Mark Carney's meeting President Xi. I think it's this week, and I showed you guys before. Korea, President Lee went to China, is making good relations as well. I mean, this is what this all plays out, and then you put that together with understanding the USA wants to pull out of international organizations, and they're signaling, hey, I want to take over Greenland. I want to, be in Venezuela for years. You kind of see why people and essentially Donald Trump is damaging the USA in numerous ways. Now, it's not going to be forever, because I don't want you to ever think like, oh, it's never going to turn around or whatever. I'm just laying out, guys, what's happening, and you could take it in a more positive way of like, if you look at all these plans together and all the pushback and just the impossibility of the stuff that Trump wants to do, it's completely unsustainable. Like it's built on a house of cards. So I guess the most positive message, and this is just the reality, Trump's people are incompetent. They have unrealistic goals, and they're crazy and at the end of their life. Look at the dude's age. So I know there's a lot to take in, and everything is really crazy right now, but I'll just say this. Trump and his people are incompetent. They know their time is short. Midterms are coming. They also have built their whole sort of policy, and everything is on you could call it sand or mud, whatever, but it's a house of cards. And this stuff will not last. It is completely unsustainable. And I'm just laying out what their plans are. And also, you don't have to be passive in this stuff. First, know what's going on, know what they're trying to do, and say, okay, we're going to choose a better path. So that's my thoughts on this. I do appreciate you watching, and I catch you in the next video.